On the waters near the US-Mexico border west of Miami, a group of drug traffickers was carrying out a drug deal. To avoid searches by the Coast Guard, they packed the drugs inside coffins and dumped them into the ocean. Once the buyers reached the designated waters, they used a remote control device to activate airbags attached to the coffins, bringing them back up to the surface. The boss, John, was remotely directing the entire operation. At that moment, a US military surveillance plane on routine patrol spotted suspicious vessels on the water and immediately alerted the Coast Guard. After receiving the report, the Coast Guard quickly dispatched a helicopter to investigate, but when it arrived at the location, they found nothing. It turned out that after spotting the helicopter on radar, the traffickers immediately activated a special device on their boat. A massive camouflage net blended the entire vessel into the surrounding ocean, allowing them to successfully evade the Coast Guard search. Using this method, they managed to smuggle huge amounts of drugs into the United States. But this time, it looked like they were finally going down, because the Coast Guard had received intel from an informant that the traffickers would be making the biggest deal in their history tonight. This was their last chance. The captain laid out the plan. They would attack the traffickers from 3 directions at once. As soon as they received the mission, the Special Forces team moved into action. The Special Forces soldiers quietly approached the traffickers' hideout. At that moment, the traffickers on the island seemed to be performing some kind of ritual. Just as they were praying to some mysterious power, 2 followers suddenly ripped off their white robes, pulled out guns, and jumped into action. They were none other than the police department's star duo, Will and Martin. But with only the 2 of them there, controlling the entire crowd was clearly not going to be easy. One of the traffickers seized the opportunity and rushed forward, catching Martin off guard and restraining him. The other traffickers immediately started getting restless as well. Seeing this, the Special Forces team had no choice but to hold their position. One trafficker finally lost his patience and made a move, only to be shot dead by Will. The scene instantly descended into chaos as both sides erupted into a fierce gunfight. Realizing the situation was going bad, the commander immediately ordered his men to launch a full assault. At that moment, Will suddenly spotted a trafficker preparing to attack Martin, so Martin leaped aside just as Will pulled the trigger. The bullet ricocheted after passing through a glass bottle and barely grazed Martin's butt on the way by. Although another bullet hit the trafficker, Martin was still in unbearable pain. Right after that, a large group of Special Forces officers stormed the scene and quickly took control of all the traffickers. But after searching the area, they only found 2 bags of drugs. It was obvious the informant's intel had been wrong. Still, the top priority now was getting treatment for Martin's injured backside. Not long after the incident, the drug lord John received the news, but he couldn't understand how the police had gotten information about the operation. Growing suspicious, he decided to replace the transport ship known as Dick 7, but one of his men reminded him that another shipment was arriving next week, so John ordered them to swap it out as soon as the cargo arrived. Meanwhile, Will was on the phone with the informant, furious that the bad intel had made him look like a fool in front of the Special Forces team.